I love leaving harbour and heading out to visit a place I've never seen from the seaward side before, and this was turning out to be a lovely, lovely day.
Terrible. Terrible.
Dolphin encounters are always enlightening in some way. An interspecies communication of sorts, perhaps an acknowledgement of each other as mutually benign. As soon as I see them coming, I switch off the echo sounder. When you have the sonic abilities of a dolphin, then surely an acoustic gizmo loudly beeping at you like a perpetually reversing bin lorry must be a bit annoying. If you're so inclined to rewind and re-watch what just passed between us, you'll see that they realised there was something out of the ordinary in their patch. They made a 200-yard beeline for the boat. They came close and were soon surfacing noisily upwind so that their delectably pungent, moisture-laden breath, redolent of health and vigour and the full-throated smell of the sea, wafted past our noses. The whole pod, young and old, had a good butchers at Katie and Jill and the cameraman from all directions. They arsed around for a moment or two, exhaled upwind of us once more, and went off across their familiar hunting grounds, engaged in their everlasting quest for fish. Possibly heading for the feeding grounds around the Tay bar, just a score or more miles round the corner. As humans, we can only guess at what it would be like to be able to really perceive a world through sound the way dolphins can. Like any carnivores, a pride of lions or a pack of hyena, they know their territory and they'd be keen to check out anything new or different that passes through. They're certainly clever enough to know the regular local boats by their acoustic profiles. From the giant booming slab steel walls of the cargo ships to the annoying and almost relentless thrum of pleasure ferries and bridgework boats down around the neck of the Forth. I'm sure that they would also get to know the local fishermen, and I expect they're well able to perceive and observe the sailing yachts that cluster around Anster and Port Edgar on sunny days. But they also have good vision, so they still like to engage the number one eyeball on anything strange or weird that passes through their turf. And Katie, with her 3 fluke-like keels, canoe stern, deep rudder, cloaca-like outboard well and tunnel that must bounce sound around most wonderfully, seems to intrigue them in some way. Katie is a bit of a dolphin magnet.
all along this coast is ribbon development of golf clubs. We must have passed 15 golf courses. And the reason is that here is St Andrews. And St Andrews is where my wife went to finishing school, where she learned the graces, how to lay out cutlery, how to press a man's shirts.
The Pope first shoved his nose into this fine place in 1160, when a cathedral was built to accommodate the healing bones of St Andrew. I say bones, the continental Catholics, the French, the Spaniards and the Italians kept the most glamorous bits of St Andrew's cadaver to themselves. You know, the jaw, the skull, the thigh bone, leaving the religiously minded Highlanders to make pilgrimages to the eccentrically eclectic, saintly Scottish rectory consisting of a hard-to-identify bit of an arm, a kneecap, 3 fingers and a tooth. But it wasn't all about naively revering bones. The North Sea has always been busy with trade. 36 hours in a fastish ship will have you across no trouble. Woolen products and grain one way, timber, ceramics, wine and other more dangerous luxuries such as books and pamphlets. Dangerous ideas from Martin Luther via the printing presses of Holland and Germany came ashore in the hands of sailors and traders all along this coast. Religious texts and tracts, and even whole Bibles in English, came in with the ships. In the face of such dangerous developments, the local St Andrew's Catholic holy men soon resorted to what they've always done with relish. They started burning people alive in the insane belief that you can burn an idea. Patrick Hamilton, burned at the stake for promoting the doctrines of Martin Luther. George Wishart, burned at the stake for defying the Catholic Church. Henry Forrest, burned alive merely for possessing a copy of the New Testament in English. And so we come to the Tay, Scotland's longest river. It rises in the far west, just a lick and a spit inland from Oban. It's joined by hundreds, probably thousands of streams and gullies, draining some of the wettest glens in the wettest parts of our wet country. The Tay is a hard-running affair. When a flood of fresh water coming down meets the North Sea coming up, then it can get really, really messy over the bar and even under the bridges. But I like to sail slowly in beautiful places on beautiful days, so I generally do my best to avoid rough bars in tough places. For me, when it comes to geography, it is hard to beat a good East Coast sandbar. They fill up your senses. It's not just the visuals, goodness knows they can be spectacular enough, but it is the power of the surging water as it cajoles and caresses and bullies the reluctantly malleable sand into ever-evolving visually harmonious patterns and shapes. You can hear it fizzing and hissing from a mile or more away. Close up, you can smell the salty dampness in the air created by the agitated, excited waves and the life which thrives on this ever-changing chunk of devastatingly beautiful, sinuously sculptured natural real estate. Bars like this one are wonderful hunting grounds for the top predators. Given clean open water, a mackerel will nonchalantly outswim and outdodge any seal or dolphin ever born. But here the strong currents change everything. The depth of water shuttles between sudden deeps and abrupt shallows. These are places where a flick of a powerful fin or a fluke or a tail or a flipper can confuse a fish enough to level the playing field between raw fishy speed and the graceful cunning of dolphins and seals. Historically, the Tay has always been debatable land. Hence the hugely impressive Port Tay Castle. Over the run of 6 centuries, it has flipped control back and forth between Highland Scots in league with the French and Lowland Scots in league with the English. It saw lots of action during the delightfully monikered yet disgustingly conducted rough wooing, and was successfully besieged by the Highland Scots and Catholic French gunners working together against the Lowlanders. The French promptly garrisoned the castle with their own men, an entirely selfless occupation aimed at defending Dundee against the perfidious Protestant Lowland Scots and their bastard double-dealing English allies, and allowed the French to control and tax the merchantmen coming into Dundee to trade. Sadly for Dundee, as often as not when the castle changed hands, the town was put to the torch by the disgruntled former incumbents, as a sort of parting gift to the new tenants. But Dundee always was an industrious place. They're good at rebuilding. The burnings and subsequent frenzy of reconstruction is one of the reasons why the architecture of Dundee is a delightful mishmash of buildings from the past 500 years. It is blessed with a capacious, easy-to-enter harbour. Shipping is in its blood. One year they built 200 ships. That is a massive industry involving foundries, rope works, canvas mills, barrel coopers, victuallers and picklers. These people were really well organised. Dundee was industrialised long before anyone really used the word.
Shifting stuff around in tractors and trailers. How remarkable.
And Dundee, as any learn-by-rote O-level geography schoolboy from last millennium will tell you, is famous for 3 things: jam, jute and journalism. We all know about jam and Dundee marmalade, but the jute is a bit more interesting. Britain's burgeoning trading and military empire depended on barrels and sacks. Dundee was already big in the canvas industry, which is fine for clothes and sails, but it's expensive, stretchy, fast-rotting, damp-attracting stuff, no good at all for making sacks. Then, intrepid Dundee traders discovered jute could be bought as cheap as chips in India. It could be hand-woven and hand-plaited. The weavers of Dundee had one hell of a time getting it to behave in power-driven mechanical wool, cotton or canvas mills. It was tough and not very pliable. But in Dundee they discovered that a drop or 2 of whale oil made it easier to work with, and it would run through their machines. The resultant burlap, hessian or gunny sacks were incredibly strong, resistant to rot and abrasion. Sacks became lighter, cheaper and stronger, better in every way. The First World War was very good for Dundee. What with the demand for sandbags and moving massive amounts of supplies around. It was all going brilliantly until they invented polypropylene, and that was the end of that. And the journalism bit. The Beano was born in Dundee, as were most of the comics and magazines I read as a child and a teenager. The power of the printed word again. Now the biggest industry in the city is the university, which, however you look at it, is a wonderful, wonderful thing.
River Tay Yacht Club.
That night we spent on the pontoons at Tayport, safely tucked away behind the massive harbour walls.